everyone, and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. This review is for Tyler Perry's Sistas, Season 6, Episode 3, Fanning the Flames. So we open up the episode at the salon and we have two firefighters having a conversation. One is saying how they had to move Karen's car for safety purposes, and now that this is considered a crime scene, nothing should be touched at all. So here comes Pam. She's walking up in disbelief. She goes up to the firefighter and he's like, "Hi, ma'am." And she was like, "What happened?" You know, it's obvious it was a fire, but she's like, "Can I go in? How bad was it? Can you just open a door?" He's like, "No, ma'am, you can't." He tells her that a body was found in there and they're waiting for the coroner to come. And she's like, "A body?" She sees Karen's car and, she's starting to hyperventilate and, gasping and panicking and all of that. And he's trying to get her some oxygen, and she wants to know if it's Karen that's inside, and he really has no idea. So then Aaron comes up out of nowhere. I guess he was around the corner when they were on the phone. So he's like, "Well, what's going on? What happened?" He's looking all around. He's like, "Well, where's Karen?" So Pam is struggling to try to get it out, and she's finally able to tell him that they found a body inside. So now you have Aaron. He's panicking now, and he's asking all kind of questions. He wants to know, "Can you at least tell me if it's a man or a woman?" The fireman is like, he really doesn't have those answers. He's waiting for the coroner. The coroner has about 1,001 more spots before he can get to this particular spot. And he had to let them know, "Look, the fire happened late last night. I wasn't here. I just relieved that night crew. So when I know something, I will gladly let you know." So Pam is saying she needs to call Mama Lisa to let her know what's going on with Karen. And Aaron is saying, let's just wait until we get confirmation from the coroner about who is actually in the building before they make that phone call. So Pam is crying like she don't need to wait. Like, who else is it? Her car is right there. It gotta be her. Pam thinks that is Karen in there, and she needs to call Mama Lisa ASAP. Aaron is adamant that it is not Karen, as if he personally put the body in there, wink, wink. And he's saying it is not Karen. So I don't know if Aaron trying to stay positive or he knows for a fact who the body is and he trying to be slick. But anyway, so he starts getting agitated and he goes off on Pam like, you left the curling irons on. You be doing a half-assed job anyway. You don't take this seriously. And, you always got Karen worried about her shop, this and that and the other. And, Pam, her feelings hurt. She's like, "Oh, so you blaming me?" He was like, "Yeah, this is all your fault." Now, Aaron, I feel like you are totally out of line going in on Pam the way you did. Like, who are you? You're not even Karen's husband. So go sit down and stop being all up in that girl face, hollering all like you crazy. Like, child. And you probably going to end up apologizing, because I don't even think that the curling irons were the cause of the fire anyway. So we head over there to the law firm where Zach has shown up to Fatima's job yet again. So she comes out. She's like, "Hey, I just left you. You all right? Everything good?" He said, "I know I could have called you, but I needed to see your face to make sure I wasn't tripping." So he tells her that he spoke with Heather and told her all about the conversation, and Michael, who was keeping him, how he's being left alone all day long with the TV and the tablet. And it just was a reminder to him of how Miss Gladys had him when he was a child and she was in the back smoking. And we learn here that Zach has been going to therapy, but he doesn't know how he's going to react if he finds out that his child is being mistreated. So Fatima is like, "Well, maybe you don't need to go over there right now." He says, "Oh, no, I'm going." And she just tells me I can't go to 3 o'clock. So Fatima looking like, "Well, why 3? He was like, "I don't know. That's just what she said, because she's going to be asleep." So Fatima said, "No, we can go on my lunch break around noon." And basically, Fatima told him, that way we can catch them off guard. And if it's something we need to see or find out, then we'll find out earlier than later. And Zach was like, "That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about." So they do the whole little Bonnie and Clyde Fatima handshake, and you start smooching and carrying on. And then Andy walks up and she's like, you're here early. And Zach's looking like, oh, I can't keep my hand off this woman. And she's like, clearly. So she's standing there looking at him, and Zach like, oh, that means I need to go. And she's like, yeah. So she's like, bye. And Zach playfully calls Andy a hater as he's leaving, and he's yelling, I love you, woman, talking to Fatima all over the office building. And Andy's looking like, excuse me, but can you bring that down like from a 10 to a 5? Like, we are in an office setting, you know. And I think Zach and a lot of people tend to forget that Andy is Fatima's boss at the end of the day. So it's not like, you know, Fatima can just really be doing what she want to do and running all over the building, playing around with you all day long. I mean, we love the Fatima scenes. We love the lovey-dovey moments and all that. But let's see Fatima visiting Zach at work sometimes. When is Zach going to go to work? We haven't seen Zach working on Sistas since he was working at the airport. But he's constantly over there for Fatima's job. So we go over there to Sabrina's, and she's cleaning when Bayou comes over. So he comes in, she gives him the biggest hug ever. And she's thanking him for everything that he's done for her. And, you know, he was like, you know, no problem. So she mentions to him that she thinks she might be getting fired from her job. And he was like, well, you know, you didn't do anything. And she was like, well, I know it's kind of hard not to worry about all of that when you got rent to pay. So he tells her that he can help her with that. And she's like, no, you've done more than enough, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'll be fine. I have my savings, 401k, and a few investments. I'm like, girl, why are you telling him all of that? So Bayou was like, well, that's good to know. You know, you'll be okay. So then she starts talking about what I don't know about Maurice, though, because he doesn't have nothing. Bayou looking at her like, sorry to hear that. Like, girl, Bayou do not give a damn about Maurice and what he do or don't have. He's done enough, okay? He done got him out of jail. Haven't even seen this man a day in his life. And you bringing up what Maurice don't have as far as his bills go. Maurice better go around there and get him a job, okay? So she offers him a drink, and he declines and says he's just happy to be in her company, telling her how beautiful she is. And, you know, she says she's been worrying too much to even feel beautiful. And he says, well, look, you know, I can give you some type of tips to where you can double your money. You know, you won't even have to worry about working. And she was like, oh, yeah? You know, she says, well, she likes to work because it gives her a purpose. And he was like, well, you know, basically like, let me know. So he offers to take her to lunch, you know, and she's acting like this man don't have no money when he done gave her over $1 million to get somebody out of jail. He got a restaurant. He's supposed to be a prince, but she worrying about breaking his pockets over some lunch. So she agrees to go, and she's getting ready to pick up a purse and a phone and all of this. And he tells her to leave everything. And she agrees to do that. And I'm like, Sabrina, why would you do that? Like, you always need your phone, and you always need a form of identification just in case something happens. You need to prove who you are. Something happens and they need to identify your body for whatever reason. And then she was like, oh, well, can I bring my keys? Like, why would you ask that? Don't you have to lock your door? Which we know it be open all the time anyway. But come on, Sabrina, now, girl. Think. He also has her going outside with no shoes on, carrying her shoes because he got somebody that can wipe her feet once they get to where they're going. I'm like, girl, Sabrina, no. So in the trailer for next week, we clearly see that Sabrina will be fine from this particular scene. Nothing is going to happen. She's on her phone next week when she gets the call to come check on Karen down there with the whole salon thing. So I just think that this scene is just foreshadowing for something that's going to happen or play out later on down the line. And I think Bayou is up to no good. Something is going to come out of it because all this, you're so beautiful, trying to groom her and, you know, win and earn her trust and all of that. I think it's all for a particular reason. And my prediction is Bayou is part of a huge human trafficking ring. So hear me out. Back in season 4, when we first met Logan, the way he became acquainted with Danny was at the airport. Danny thought the man was trying to kidnap this little girl off the plane. But come to find out, Logan works on the human trafficking task force. So that's what he does. So I don't know how we got on to him with the whole Q thing, but when we initially met him, he was, dealing with the whole human trafficking thing. So one particular scene, we got Danny and Logan out to eat, and Sabrina and Bayou joined them at the table. So he looks at Bayou and says,
"Hey, don't I go there?" "No, I don't think so." "No, you look familiar." "No, I'm sure it is." "I see."
So I got my good eye on Bayou, and I don't trust him. So what do you guys think? But that's going to be my prediction when it comes to what's really up with him. So we head back over there to the law firm and get a quick scene with Fatima and Andy. And their deposition is over, and apparently everything went well because Fatima is giving Andy all the praises for being good at what she does and says she'll never be as good as her. And Andy, she then jokes around and she says, "You're going to be better." So Fatima brings up the fact that she needs to get back in school, and Andy advises her, go ahead and get that done. Like, what are you waiting for? You don't want to keep waiting. Time is ticking. And Fatima says, "Oh, I just want to make sure everything is situated and lined up." And I'm like, Fatima, what's not lined up? You don't have any kids to worry about. All you got is Zach running around with a bunch of baby mama drama. What we need you to do, girl, is be like Nike and just do it. We don't want to keep seeing you run around here fetching Andy's coffee for the next several more seasons, or walking to the copy machine because by the way, here, take this to the copy machine. No, ma'am. Let's go back to school. Let's focus on that. And then she brings up, "Oh, I want to talk to you about something," and bring up the whole not having a wedding date set with Zach, and how she wants Heather and Karen to sign paperwork dealing with the kids and want to know what she's walking into. Like, all of that was a little repetitive and drawn out for, I guess, the sake of the scene. And because really, what do you expect Andy to say about it? She can't really talk to you about Karen. She mentioned something about, "Oh, we don't even really know if Karen's child is his yet." So really, the two of you not having a date set is okay. You're on the heels of a potential breakup that we didn't even see play out yet on Fatima. So it's okay to take your time. But if you're getting cold feet, just say that. So as Andy is asking Fatima to take something to the copy machine, she turned around and she's like, "Oh, is that who I think it is?" And it's Tamara. So Fatima is like, "Oh, hell no, she didn't." So Andy, being nosy as hell, like, "Girl, you got to fill me in. What's going on?" So Fatima ignored Andy's nosy ass and was like, "Girl, I'll tell you about it later." So she going out there like a mama scolding a child and gritting through her teeth like, "What are you doing here?" Tamara kind of snatched away from her like, "I came to bring him lunch and, he's looking like, stop." I'm like, every time these two have some type of interaction, it's where they can be seen or heard. I mean, she on the phone talking to Fatima and Hayden in the next room. They always in the break room, all out in public with all the glass windows where everybody can see them talking. Like, if y'all just begging to get caught, then just get caught. Like, it's crazy at this point. So Zach is there to get Fatima for lunch so they can go head over there to Heather's house, and he rolls up on the tail end of the whole interaction with Tamara and sees that Fatima's in her little bout it mode and asks her like, "What's up?" Fatima's like, "Oh, it's nothing. I just don't trust her." And Fatima has already mentioned to Zach that she has this plan in place for Hayden. So all she really had to do is tell him that, she'll tell him about it in the car. But Zach is like, "Nah, we ain't got to leave just yet. Like, hey, I'll hold her down. I don't fight women, but if you need me to hold her, I'll let you do your thing." They joking and playing. So Tamara, she gets into Hayden's office and gives him the lunch, and he says, "I have a surprise for you as well," and tells her that he has some business down in Miami and for the weekend, he feel like she can go with him. And she's all excited and surprised, like, "Oh, for real, but I don't have any clothes, packed anything, this and that." And he say, "Don't worry about it. I'm going to buy you a whole new wardrobe when we get down there." And, she's all big-eyed, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like, "Oh, my God, like, I don't know how to take all of this." And he was like, "Look, I just feel like you should be treated like a queen, especially how you've been treating me lately." So he insists that she doesn't leave. She doesn't have to go anywhere. Just, let's have lunch. Let's chill. And basically, I guess they're going to leave straight from work and go catch the flight. So she said, "Well, at least let me pick out the airline." And he says, "No problem." So he calls the secretary to come in there to make the plans. So we head over there to the airport and we see Danny actually made it to work even after all of the events from the night before. So we got Julie at the counter asking about how much longer for her flight. So Danny told her, like, it'll be a while. So she's like, oh, do you remember me? And Danny's playing that game like she's Mariah, like, I don't know you, lady. Like, no, I sure don't. And she was like, look, I was in here with my ex, Jonah. And Danny's like, oh, well, rings a little bell. So Julie, she apologizes because we remember the last time we saw Julie, she was drunk as hell, in there being very belligerent and rude, calling Danny out her name, calling all kind of B's, this and that and the other. So, she's there now apologizing. Danny's still, acting like, I don't have time for you, lady. So she was like, look, I just want to tell you to be very careful because my ex is extremely crazy. And Danny was like, well, you had a baby by him. And she was like, well, that was before I knew how he really was. Just be careful. And she wanted to warn her, he's out of jail. So Danny says, oh, you knew he was in jail? And Julie says, well, he calls me every time it happens and blames the woman. And so Danny was like, well, did you bail him out? And Julie was like, hell no. So she basically, again, was just warning her, like, again, just be careful. Like, just take heed to what I'm telling you. Danny acting like, she gonna be able to get out of these situations each and every time. But the girl trying to tell you something for your own good. Because, apparently she done lived through some stuff. But, Danny told her thanks for the little PSA. And Julie went and sat down. So then we see Hayden and Tamara pop up to Danny's counter trying to check in for their flight to Miami. So Hayden is like, those are first class, right? And she's like, yeah, okay, you're all checked in. So Hayden act like he's never been anywhere. I don't even know if he's ever been on a plane before. Like, you would already know if this first class, you know how to read, right? So he's like, where's the private area? And Danny's looking around like, the private area? Like, you looking at it, it's right here. And he was like, oh no, like, this is not gonna work. And he was like, I told her nothing but the best for her, And Tamara was like, well, these are the cheaper flights. And he was like, see, that's the problem. They're cheap, But, I'm going to show you what time it is once we get to Miami because this not it right here. So Danny told him, like, look, if you want privacy, go sit over there and put a bag between you and that lady over there. And that's the privacy. So, him and Tamara walk off and Julie is at her chair talking about just pathetic. And Danny agrees with her. So we go over there to Andy's office and she calls Gary back because he messaged her and they go back and forth about what they tired of. He asked about Robin again and she ready to get off the phone. He's asking her to go to dinner. She's still telling him no, she's tired. She didn't get any sleep last night. So we got a new receptionist named Trish comes to the door, says somebody's out front. So Andy tells Gary she has to get off the phone. So he was like, no, hold on, wait, just keep me on the phone. She goes up there. Gary done sent some lady there to sing Brandy's Have You Ever Loved Someone song to her and Then she agrees to go out to dinner with him that night. And the lady tells the lady she did a great job. Thank you very much, whatever. So the lady leaves. And then we got Trish standing there looking like Catherine from Have and Have Nots. Like, oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. And Andy like, girl, whatever. Don't fall for it. But Andy, you just fell for it because you agreed to go to dinner with him. We don't have time for this. And side note, why is the turnover rate so high at this receptionist position? Every other episode, we got a new receptionist. Now, last season, you ran Linda in the ground, had her walking all over the building, up and down, back and forth. Now, Linda ain't nowhere to be found. So we go back over there to Gary's office, and he gets a phone call from Aaron. And Aaron is like, Gary, look, I need you. Can you come down there to Karen's salon? He asked him also, can he make some phone calls for him? So Gary is like, well, what's going on? What's going on? And Aaron is like, man, just get here as soon as you can. Like, just get here. And he told him he was on his way. So we get this silly scene with Maurice and Q where he done snuck into his room, standing all over him, saying all kind of crazy stuff. So Maurice in there acting like some old jilted lover, and Q basically told him, you just wanted the D. And he was like, no, I was trying to help you. I was there for you, all this and that. And basically, I guess trying to get Q to confess. And Q like, I don't know what you're talking about. He was like, look, I'm free. And, you and Sabrina, y'all gonna be all right. Y'all don't have records. And Maurice standing up there talking about, oh, you okay with this and that. And Q is like, look, if you trying to win me over with all that kind of talk, like, I don't have a heart, so all that BS you talking ain't finna work with me. So after all of that, Q wasn't falling for it, so Maurice is like, well, I got like $6,000 to my name. I'm going to pay somebody to take care of you. And Q was like, oh, so you about that life now. I'm like, first of all, Maurice, if you going to do it, do it. You don't have to announce it. Then he asked Q when he getting out, and Q like a fool talking about tomorrow. Like, the whole conversation was pretty just dumb. So, Maurice, you don't have money to be throwing away to waste on Q. You know, it's ways to try to catch him later on. So, leave that crap alone. Use that money for your bills. So he ends up leaving and Q in the bed yelling for the nurse after the fact. Like, why are you screaming for the nurse? So Zach and Fatima, they're on their way to Heather's house, and Fatima can sense that Zach is not okay, and he admits that he's not, and saying that he just found out he had a child, and he, doesn't really know what he's walking into, and, just remembers how it was with his mom. So Fatima, she's trying to let him know she's there for him, and told him she's glad that he invited her to go, and he was glad that she was willing to come. So they roll up on the scene, and they get out the car, and we see little Michael already outside playing by himself. So Fatima, she tries talking to Michael, and Zach, he's starting to hyperventilate. I can't do this. I'm going to be able to do this. And she's like, babe, just calm down. Zach over there got his anxiety going through the roof. So she's like, Michael, where's your mom? So we got Benita Petrell in the window talking about that lazy bee in the house. Fatima said, what did you say? She said, oh, you heard me. And who are you to her anyway? Fatima says, nobody. She said, well, whatever, nobody. I done called CPS like 4 different times, and nobody has come out here and did nothing about it. I'll be glad when somebody come and take him away from her. And so we get the tea on Michael, because she tells everything. Basically, he's outside all day and night by himself playing. He doesn't talk. He's nonverbal. He's 3 years old and still in diapers, and he's always hungry. And Benita was like, and that's some BS, but you ain't heard it from her. So Fatima tells her, can you not use that type of language in front of him? And she was like, child, please, like, you should hear this type of stuff that his mama say in front of him. So they thanked her for, I guess, being helpful as much as she can by giving up the dirt that she gave. So Zach, he's still standing up there talking about, I can't do this. And Fatima like, we can't leave him out here like this by himself. And so, I guess he got into his thoughts and thought about it. So they gathered little Michael up, and he's like, come on, little man. Come on, Michael. Let's go inside because it's cold out here. So they get inside, and the house is a mess. So Heather comes from out the bedroom. She like, what the hell? Like, I thought we discussed 3 o'clock. So they was like, we just decided we were going to come early. So she's trying to offer them some drinks and be hospitable or whatever. They declined. And, she's talking about the money. That's all she care about is this money. And Fatima asks her, why is Michael still in diapers? She say, oh, he's a little slow. They looking like, oh, my God. So Zach, he not saying nothing because Zach is mad as hell. He is about to blow a gasket. And she's like, why you so quiet? He basically tells her he didn't appreciate finding out he got a son and the son living the way he's living. So now Heather's feeling some kind of way, and she's like, I've been trying to be nice to y'all, and, I've been dealing with him for like 3 years and this and that and the other. I'm like, well, why you ain't been trying to find Zach if you felt like you need some help and you're overwhelmed with how he's living? Like, if you can't take care of him, why not look for the dad a long time ago? I don't get it. So Fatima also asked her about when was the last time Michael went to the doctor, and she was like, for what? He don't have a cold. So they were like, oh, hell no. So basically, Heather started to feel like they were being judged, and she's basically just telling them they can leave and get out, and Fatima's trying to be the voice of reason, and she was like, I said what I said, just leave. Like what? You gonna put my head through the wall again in front of him? And as she's saying all that, in walks Jimmy, her little boyfriend. He coming there acting a fool, talk about telling the little boy to go take a bath because he smell. And, he's like, who is these people and who is you and all this and that. He thinking the CPS and that the neighbor then went and called them again. But my thing is, what if it was CPS and you come in there talking the way you talking? that wouldn't have helped. So Heather told him, that's his daddy. So he like, oh, his daddy? Like, you got the money? You got the money? Zach ain't said a word, but you could tell that blood is boiling. Fatima like, I think we need to go. Let's go. Let's get up out of here, because she already know her man getting ready to go off, and he actually says it. He's like, I'm about to blow. So Jimmy like, you gonna do what? You gonna do what? And I'm like, oh, Lord, because Zach got a temper. So I guess that therapy helping out after all, because he ends up getting up out of there and leaving. And I felt so sorry for little Michael. She ended up going in the room with Jimmy and still left the little boy sitting out in the living room by himself. Still ain't fed him and still ain't changed him. I'm like, yeah, Heather. Yeah, no, girl. So Fatima and Zach, they get outside, and Zach is really upset, and he really wants to get Michael up out of there. But Fatima is trying to talk him off that ledge, because she's telling him that Heather can have him arrested for kidnapping if he does that. They got to go about it the right way. So Zach is basically saying like he knows what that looks like, because he's been there, done that with his mom growing up. So he knows what it looks like. He wants to get his child from out that situation. Fatima basically just told him they're going to just go back to the office, talk to Andy or one of the other lawyers to see about them getting custody. So we go back over there to the salon where Aaron is pacing back and forth, acting all frantic. I don't remember Aaron being this distraught when Fawn died. I mean, he had a couple of sips of alcohol. That was about it. But, Gary, he's trying to calm him down, like, take a breath and this and that and the other, and trying to ask him questions. And he keep repeating the same thing over and over. Nobody's telling me anything. I'm not getting any answers. So he asks Gary, is there anybody he can call for him to get some answers? Because he knows that Gary is plugged in and connected some kind of way. So Gary says, well, he'll just call the mayor. And he was like, good, because nobody's here is telling me anything. I'm like, Aaron, be quiet. And why you just won't tell him that you think Karen is in there? So Fatima and Zach, they get back to the firm. And, Zach is still talking about Michael and what was going on with that. And Andy walks out her office, and Fatima was like, we were just getting ready to come see you. So Andy was like, well, the only reason I'm down here is so I could talk to my associate Pam. And they show Pam from the salon sitting down crying. So my first thought would be, now, if I know Pam and I see her sitting there crying, automatically in my head, I'm going to think something happened to Karen. That would just be my instinct. That's just what I'm going to think. Andy goes and sit up. Pam, why are you here? Pam crying and distraught, and she's sniffing and snotting and like, oh, it was a fire at the salon and he's blaming me. And Andy still like babying her, like, who's blaming you? I'm like, oh my God, girl, really? Like, come on, like that should be like common sense. Something is not right. So she says, Karen, she's dead. And Zach, he bolts up out of there. I'm going to the salon and haul ass. And the episode ends there. Ooh, child. What did you guys think of this week's episode? It was a lot going on. Drop down below in the comments and let me know your thoughts and theories. As always, you guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you next week. Peace.